Imagine you're out at sea riding the perfect wave on a quiet, foggy morning. The ocean feels like home and you're at ease, until something slams into you, knocking the wind from your lungs. Pain surges through your body as you realize it's a great white, one of the biggest ever recorded. There's no one, no soul to see you being dragged under. This was Louis Boren's reality on what should have been a peaceful day at South Moss Beach, but what happened next was even more terrifying. It was December 19, 1981, and South Moss Beach in California was dominated by the powerful forces of nature. Overcast skies loomed overhead and the wind sliced through the air, creating perfect 15-foot swells. For 24-year-old Louis Boren, this was just another day. Born and raised in California, he had spent countless hours at South Moss Beach, where the waves became his playground. That morning, after a hearty breakfast and in good spirits, Louis was ready for a day of surfing with his friend. The beach was empty. Most people stayed away because of the stormy weather, but that didn't deter Louis and his friend. Laughter soon echoed above the roar of the surf as they rode the powerful waves, carving through the water with ease. The ocean seemed theirs alone, the rhythm of each wave pulling them further into the moment. They kept surfing as the morning gradually gave way to the afternoon. Eventually, it was time to leave. They headed to a nearby beach club for lunch, where they talked about surfing, life, and all the things young men in their 20s usually discuss. At approximately 2 p.m., they returned to the parking lot, ready to part ways, not realizing it would be the last time they'd see each other. Louis had every intention of heading home as he stepped into his car, but something stopped him. The empty beach and the perfect waves were calling. It felt almost too perfect to pass up, so he decided to hit the water one last time, or so he thought. So Louis made his way back to the beach, this time without his friend. As he donned his wetsuit and began paddling out, he looked at the ocean, thinking he would soon ride some perfect waves. But Louis wasn't alone. Below him, hidden in the icy, swirling depths, a massive great white shark circled silently, just out of sight. It watched him, waiting. To the shark, Louis was nothing more than a silhouette gliding across the water's surface, a potential meal in an unforgiving ocean. It wasn't malice or intent, just nature at its most brutal. Then, without any warning, the ocean erupted around him. The shark struck with such incredible force that Louis was thrown out of the water before he could even scream. One moment he was paddling, and the next a crushing weight hit him like a freight train. The impact knocked him back into the water, disorienting him as he struggled to understand what had happened. He tried to turn to fight back, but the power of the creature was overwhelming. His body screamed in agony as the shark's teeth tore into his left chest, ripping out a chunk in one swift motion. And then, everything went quiet. No sound, no sensation, just silence and darkness. No one saw the horror unfold that day, with the beach deserted and silent as the ocean claimed its victim. The following day, however, the first signs of the tragedy emerged. Two surfers made a grim discovery when they came across Louis's broken surfboard washed up on the shore. A large chunk was missing, as if something massive had bitten through it. About 15 yards away, they found the missing piece. The surfers took the damaged board to the Salinas Police Department, who then forwarded it to the supervising ranger at the beach for further investigation. Just a day later, one of Louis's friends decided to file a missing persons report, as his car had remained parked at the beach untouched since he was last seen. By Monday, December 21st, suspicions began to grow. His surfboard had been discovered earlier, bearing deep gashes that hinted at a possible shark attack. The authorities, now fearing the worst, launched a search, hoping for answers. But it all remained unclear until Christmas Eve. On that day, the ocean revealed its dark secret. Lewis's body was discovered washed ashore half a mile from where he was last seen. His body was mostly intact except for a large, deep wound in his chest, matching the damage found on his board. The post-mortem report confirmed everyone's worst fears: severe injury due to a shark attack. Lewis's friends and family were heartbroken, mourning the loss of such an adventurous soul in such a tragic way. But the situation only grew more devastating. Days later, a marine biologist analyzed the bitten-off section of Lewis's surfboard and determined that the shark's jaws spanned approximately 18 inches wide, indicating the creature measured about 23 feet in length and weighed nearly 2 tons. It was unmistakably a great white shark, possibly one of the largest ever documented. Experts explained that sharks typically do not see humans as prey, and that this was likely just a curious exploratory bite, but the damage was already done. Unfortunately, Lewis was not the only one to experience such horror in the ocean's depths. In our next story, we witness the terror faced by a mother who suffered a brutal attack in front of her family. This is the heartbreaking tale of Shirley Ann Durden. Shirley Durden was a 33-year-old housewife living with her husband Barry and their 4 children in the quiet town of Carcou, Australia. Since their marriage began, the couple had dreamed of leaving behind their simple farm life for a peaceful existence by the sea. When Barry finally surprised Shirley with the news that he had secured a home near Port Lincoln Beach, she was ecstatic. Port Lincoln, located in South Australia on the Lower Eyre Peninsula, is known as the country's seafood capital and a popular tourist spot, celebrated for its stunning coastal beauty. For Shirley, who adored the ocean, it was a dream come true. Once they settled into their new life, the Durdens spent their days fully embracing the beachside lifestyle, relaxing on the shore, sunbathing, fishing, and scuba diving. Their happiness felt complete, as if nothing could ever go wrong. One day, their longtime friend Keith Coventry paid them a visit and suggested a scuba diving trip to collect fresh scallops. Shirley and Barry, both adventurous and experienced divers, immediately agreed. The thrill of a new adventure and the challenge of the dive, something they had bonded over since the start of their relationship, was too tempting to pass up. On March 3, 1985, the trio arrived at the beach, prepared their gear, and reassured their children they'd be back soon. Eager to get started, they swam out into the shallow waters, about 7 feet deep, in search of scallops. Unbeknownst to them, a massive, ravenous 20-foot great white shark was lurking in the shadows, silently watching and waiting. As they scoured the ocean floor, the trio quickly filled their bags with fresh scallops, the excitement of their underwater hunt growing with every find. Shirley and Barry exchanged smiles through their diving masks, savoring the peaceful beauty of the clear water and the thrill of the activity. Barry and Keith felt safe. Statistically, a shark encounter was unlikely. Most great white sharks stay away from shallow waters, and attacks on people are rare. Even when a shark does bite, it usually lets go quickly. Humans are too bony and not as tasty as their favorite food, seals. But those statistics didn't matter to a hungry predator. After a good dive, Barry and Keith decided to swim back to shore, leaving Shirley to explore the beautiful underwater scenery for a little while longer. Eventually, she came back up, her bag full of scallops, and began swimming toward the beach, excitedly calling out about her catch. As Barry and Keith waved back, Barry's smile faded. He saw something in the distance, a big fin moving quickly toward Shirley. His heart dropped as the huge dorsal fin got closer. Then, out of nowhere, the great white shark jumped out of the water, clamping its massive jaws around Shirley's lower body. It lifted her right out of the water and thrashed her like a toy. Blood sprayed everywhere as Shirley screamed. Her cries echoed on the beach, sounding like a nightmare Barry couldn't wake up from. It was horrifying. One second she was there, and the next, the shark had torn her apart. The attack happened so quickly that Barry stood frozen in shock, watching as the shark dragged Shirley down into the deep water. A few awful seconds passed before her lifeless body floated back to the surface. Her lower half was completely gone, and blood spread across the water like a dark stain. In panic, Barry ran toward the water, desperate to reach his wife. But Keith held him back, knowing that jumping into the shark's territory would only lead to more tragedy. What happened next was unbearable. The shark came back, mouth wide open, and with one last violent bite, it decapitated Shirley's body. Barry's cries filled the air as the shark disappeared into the murky water, leaving a trail of blood and his wife's lifeless body drifting just yards from the shore where their children stood screaming. Despite everything they had seen, rescuers soon arrived to try and recover Shirley's remains. But the sea had different plans. Neither Shirley's body nor the shark that attacked her was ever found. Experts think the shark went back for the rest of her torso before disappearing into the deep, taking any chance of recovery with it. Shirley Ann Durden's attack was not a simple shark story. It changed the status of the whole community. Families who lived by the sea started to alter how they perceived the water. It was the most horrifying shark attack ever evidenced. The best documentation of the unadulterated nature of nature. But still, as tragic as Shirley's story is, it pales in comparison to the next attack, where a young surfer named Arthur unknowingly recorded his last moments on the beach before heading into the waves and never coming back.
Look that, bro. Look that one. See that one, bro. Woo!
It was September 15, 2018 on Newcomb Hollow Beach in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The day had started like any other for Arthur Medici, a 26-year-old engineering student from Revere, Massachusetts. Arthur had moved to the United States from Brazil 4 years earlier, living with his aunt and uncle while pursuing his studies at Bunker Hill Community College. Known for his adventurous spirit, sun-kissed hair, and infectious smile, Arthur found his greatest joy riding the waves. Boogie boarding was his escape from the pressures of life, a place where he felt truly free. Arthur had recently completed his summer classes and was preparing for a significant moment in his personal life. He was planning to propose to Emily, the sister of his close friend Isaac Rocha. He had ordered custom rings from Brazil, eager to take the next step. Arthur and Isaac were more than just friends, they were like brothers, frequently spending time together in the ocean, with Arthur often coaching Isaac on his surfing. In early September, the two friends decided to plan a beach trip to Wellfleet, Massachusetts. They set aside a few days to enjoy the waves and relax at Newcomb Hollow Beach. The trip was more than just a quick getaway. It was a chance for them to bond even more before Arthur took a big step in his personal life. On September 14th, Arthur and Isaac arrived in Wellfleet, excited for their time at the beach. They enjoyed a fantastic first day, bonding over their shared love for the water, with Arthur showing off his skills on the boogie board. It was the perfect start to their trip. The next morning on September 15th, the day began just like the one before. After a light meal, they returned to the beach, prepared to spend the day surfing the waves. As the pair started arranging their equipment, they took time to joke and tease each other, unaware that this would be the last time they'd be together. Arthur, conscious of the gregarious nature of seals, carefully observed the waters before approaching, ensuring to stay clear of the seal colonies in the area. Little did they know that under the tranquility, a deadly beast was awaiting its prey. The conditions seemed perfect for boogie boarding. The weather was fine and the water was so calm that it looked as if it were filled with light. Arthur dashed into the waves as always and caught the first one with ease and then did a few stunts. At the same time, Isaac only looked at his friend amazed at how easily he navigated the water counter to its current. But what could have been a perfect day was going to turn into a very sad one. As Arthur happily surfed the waves on his boogie board, something moved beneath him, a giant shadow. A 15-foot great white shark silently lurked just inches below the surface of the water. In an instant, the shark struck, clamping its powerful jaws around Arthur's legs. The attack was swift and brutal, tearing deep into his groin and severing his femoral arteries. Blood quickly filled the water, and Arthur's screams echoed across the beach. Isaac, who was surfing nearby, froze in shock for a brief moment as he witnessed the thrashing in the water. He spotted the shark's tail cutting through the waves as it circled once before retreating into the depths, leaving Arthur gravely injured. Without hesitation, Isaac sprang into action. Fighting through his panic, he paddled as fast as he could toward Arthur, who was now struggling to stay afloat. Reaching his friend, Isaac quickly grabbed hold of Arthur and hauled him onto the boogie board, his hands shaking from fear and desperation. He began dragging him toward the shore, shouting desperately for help. Onlookers stood frozen, watching in horror as Isaac struggled with Arthur's now lifeless body, blood trailing in the water. With the help of bystanders, Isaac managed to get Arthur onto the sand. They used the strap of a boogie board as a makeshift tourniquet to try to stop the bleeding. First responders arrived quickly, administering CPR and doing everything they could to save him, but the injuries were too severe. Arthur's life slipped away as those around him struggled to come to terms with what had just happened. His future, once filled with promise, was tragically cut short. He would never get the chance to propose to Emily, the woman he loved, as he had planned. The grief of his sudden loss was overwhelming for both his family and friends. This tragic event marked the first fatal shark attack in Massachusetts in 75 years, sparking widespread public outcry. Arthur's death not only shocked the community but also ignited a heated debate about the rising population of great white sharks in the waters near Cape Cod. In the aftermath, some called for drastic measures, such as installing baited drum lines to capture and kill the sharks. However, conservationists from the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy urged for a more balanced response. They emphasized that sharks are not the villains they're often portrayed to be, but rather crucial members of the marine ecosystem playing a vital role in maintaining its balance. Arthur's death was likely a case of mistaken identity, a tragic encounter that highlighted the complexities of sharing our oceans with these powerful creatures. But it's not just boogie boarders who face such dangers. Anyone venturing into the ocean can become vulnerable. Our next story follows a seasoned freediver's terrifying encounter with one such deadly creature. It was the afternoon of July 18, 2023 in the Southern Caribbean at Nirvana, a renowned dive site near the island of San Andreas. Known for its crystal-clear waters and vibrant coral reefs, this area forms part of the Seaflower Biosphere Reserve, a UNESCO-protected paradise for divers who come to explore its stunning marine life. Among those captivated by this underwater world was Christian Castanovia, a 38-year-old adventurer whose life had been intricately woven with the sea. Freediving, the art of diving without the aid of breathing equipment, relying solely on the diver's ability to hold their breath, was a discipline Christian had mastered. It required immense skill, mental focus, and a deep understanding of one's own physical limits. Christian wasn't just any freediver, he was well known and respected in the freediving community, holding 25 Colombian freediving records, each achievement a testament to his bond with the waters that had shaped his life. On that fateful day, Christian was preparing for another dive in conditions that were as calm and pristine as they always were at Nirvana. He and his group of longtime freediving companions boarded a small boat that took them to the edge of the dive site. The boat bobbed gently on the water as they secured their gear. No heavy equipment, just wetsuits and weight belts, allowing them to move effortlessly through the water. One by one, they slipped into the sea, their bodies barely disturbing the surface as they took deep, controlled breaths to prepare for the dive. Surrounded by the colors of the coral gardens and the familiar rhythms of the ocean, Christian was at home. He was comfortable, almost like a fish himself, a man born to swim. Yet, beneath this peaceful beauty, the ocean held more than just serenity. Lurking in the deep, unseen yet ever-present, was the oceanic white-tip shark, a creature both feared and respected by divers. Known for its boldness and curiosity, the shark often approached divers, usually without incident. Christian had encountered these predators before and understood the delicate balance required to coexist with the ocean's creatures. He had always maintained a respectful distance, knowing that survival meant respecting their territory. But on this day, the ocean's balance was about to shift. Christian and his group had been free-diving for about an hour, taking turns diving for 2 to 4 minutes while the others waited on the boat, ready to regroup after every dive. Each descent had revealed stunning views of coral and fish, and after his friends returned from their latest descent, Christian decided to venture back for one final look. The midday light shimmered on the surface as Christian swam peacefully, descending to about 20 feet as he explored the vibrant underwater world, unaware of the silent predator approaching from the blue. Suddenly, a large oceanic white-tip shark emerged, its sleek, torpedo-shaped body cutting effortlessly through the water. For a brief moment, Christian saw the shadow of the shark below, but by the time he realized the danger, it was too late. The shark struck with brutal force, its jaws clamping down on Christian's leg. The bite tore through muscle, shredding his calf and severing small blood vessels. Christian tried to defend himself, raising his hand, but the shark's second bite ripped through his palm and fingers. A wave of nerve-shattering pain surged through his body as blood clouded the water around him. After the second bite, the shark abruptly let go, leaving Christian to fight against the pain and the shock of the attack. Instinct kicked in as Christian propelled himself toward the surface, his heart racing and adrenaline surging through his veins. Panic surged within him, but years of training took over. He knew that losing control would only make the situation worse. For a few agonizing seconds, he felt the weight of fear pressing down on him as he kicked furiously, desperate to reach the boat. Blood streamed from his wounds, clouding the water around him, but he pushed forward, driven by the instinct to survive. From the boat, Christian's companions noticed the sudden burst of blood in the water, their hearts racing as they realized something was terribly wrong. They quickly scanned the area, spotting him struggling near the surface. Steering the boat closer, they moved swiftly to pull him aboard. Their hands shook as they hoisted Christian onto the deck, where he trembled in pain, blood pouring from his wounds and staining the boat's floor. The grim reality of what had just happened settled in as the boat sped toward shore, the salt air filled with a mix of fear and urgency, propelling them forward in a race against time to get Christian to safety. Once ashore, Christian was rushed to a nearby clinic where surgeons worked for hours to close the deep cuts on his legs and hands. Despite the severity of the injuries, the shark's bite had not punctured any of the major blood vessels, allowing him to survive the attack against all odds. This detail would later haunt Christian as he realized how narrowly he had escaped death. Word of the attack spread through the diving community, casting a dark shadow over the colorful waters of San Andreas. However, Christian faced the ordeal with great humor and spirit. He posted a picture of his bandaged legs and hands from his hospital bed, captioned, "You should see how the shark turned out." Many were inspired by his strength in such a difficult situation, as he turned it into a story of survival and bravery. For Christian, the attack was a harsh reminder of the sea's untamed power. Though he respected the balance between humans and the ocean, this encounter shattered that understanding. His survival was a testament to his skill and respect for the water, but not everyone is as lucky. Martha Morell, a seasoned swimmer in Maui, would face a far more terrifying fate, as her morning swim turned into a desperate struggle against not one, but multiple sharks. It was a calm November morning in 1991 on the Hawaiian island of Maui, where the sun glimmered on the crystal-clear waters, casting a serene glow over the quiet beach at Hilo Point. Marty Morell, a swimmer who had been swimming in these waters every morning of her life, swam elegantly. To Marty, each swim was not merely a rite, it was an opportunity to be with the sea that she was fond of since her childhood. With her husband Dave and their children, she was able to build a perfect life on a beachfront property. But that morning, the tranquil ocean held a darkness just beneath its surface. Martha had been raised in Des Moines and later attended Washington State University, where she met her husband. They got married in 1972 and settled in Hawaii, Maui to be precise. Thanks to Dave's job as the manager of the Pioneer Sugar Mill, they were able to live comfortably, and by 1988 they relocated to a beautiful land at Hilo Point with a lagoon that felt like it was made for them. Marty enjoys swimming and thus became a board member of the Aloha Aquatics Club to ensure children in the society developed the same interest. Life seemed picture perfect. That morning, Marty was not swimming alone. Her friend, Louise Soriso, a doctor from Vancouver, joined her on what they thought was a regular morning swim. Together, they swam out, going further from the reef, giggling as the water washed over them. But as they bobbed about 100 yards from the coast, Louise saw a dark, sleek fin breaking the water. At first, Louise thought it was a playful dolphin, common in the region. But as she lowered her head for a closer look, dread gripped her heart. Instead of a dolphin, a tiger shark emerged, its gray body marked with faded stripes, gliding with the predatory grace of an apex hunter. Louise's breath caught in her throat. This massive creature was no ordinary predator. Before she could scream a warning, the ocean erupted around them. In a flash, the shark attacked, its mouth opening wide as it lunged at Marty right in front of Louise's eyes, biting into her friend's body and holding on tightly. The once calm morning shattered into chaos as Marty fought desperately against the shark's relentless assault. Louise stood frozen, horrified, watching as the predator shook its head violently, tearing into Marty. In a panic, she grabbed a piece of driftwood floating nearby and began striking the shark. But she quickly realized her efforts were futile. The shark's cold, unblinking eyes remained fixed on its prey. Marty's agonized screams filled the air as the creature dragged her beneath the waves. The chaos unfolding in the water didn't go unnoticed at Marty's house. A maid witnessed the tragic scene and dialed emergency services with trembling hands. As the brutal assault continued unabated, Louise faced a dire choice. She had to swim for shore to summon help. Panic coursed through her veins. She reached the shallows and screamed for assistance, her voice a desperate plea echoing through the coastal stillness. A repairman working at Marty's residence heard Louise's frantic cries and bolted outside. He grabbed a paddleboard and plunged into the churning sea, propelling himself toward the horrifying situation. As he approached, a nightmare scene unfolded before him. The dark gray fins and sinuous form of the shark surged above the water, relentlessly tearing into Marty. To his horror, he realized that more sharks had joined the gruesome feast. transforming the water into a frenzy of blood and chaos. Terrified for his own life atop the precarious paddleboard, the repairman made a harrowing decision. He turned and paddled frantically back to the safety of the shore, leaving Marty to her grim fate. Meanwhile, emergency services quickly arrived at the scene. They assessed the chaos in the water and realized that Marty had most likely succumbed to her injuries, given the ferocity of the attack and the presence of multiple sharks. Recognizing the urgent need to retrieve her remains, they prepared for the dangerous task ahead. As they approached, the tiger shark circled Marty's lifeless body, refusing to leave its kill. In a daring maneuver, the responders used their boat to force the predator to retreat. Only then could they finally pull her aboard, bringing a heartbreaking end to the harrowing ordeal. The intensity of the attack left a trail of devastation. Friends and family were heartbroken by the loss of the compassionate 41-year-old woman who devoted herself to her family and had a passion for swimming, which unfortunately cost her her life. Marty had always adhered to safety precautions. She never swam by herself and preferred to experience the ocean during the day in waters she knew well. That day, the sky was bright and clear and the waters glistened in the sunlight. However, experts suggested that her movements may have inadvertently drawn the shark's attention, an unfortunate instance of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, that wraps up all the stories for this episode of Animal Quests, proving once again that the ocean isn't as calm and friendly as it seems. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more horrifying shark attacks, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.